You're sitting in a room that should be silent. But for you, silence is a ghost that left years ago. Instead, there's that sound, a hiss, a hum, a high-pitched needle of noise that never blunts. You've been told it's just your ears. You've been told it's an inconvenience you have to live with, like a squeaky floorboard in an old house. But what if that sound isn't coming from your ears at all? What if your ears are perfectly fine, but they are screaming because of a crisis happening deep inside your gray matter? Most people treat tinnitus as a localized annoyance, but recent neurological breakthroughs suggest that for a specific group of people, this ringing is the first flare-up of a brain that is literally starting to overheat. It is a biological warning light on your dashboard, flashing red, telling you that the connection between your hearing and your memory is beginning to fray. If you ignore the smoke, you won't see the fire until it's too late. Today, we aren't talking about hearing aids or white noise machines. We are diving into the 3 specific, overlooked signs that your tinnitus is actually a distress signal from your brain, and why one of these signs might be the only thing standing between you and a permanent synaptic brownout. Before we peel back the layers of the first sign, I want you to perform a quick mental check. Think back to 48 hours ago. What was the exact color of the shirt you wore? If you had to pause, even for a second, the tinnitus tax might already be draining your cognitive reserves. We often blame age for these little lapses, but the truth is much more mechanical. The first sign that your tinnitus is a brain warning is what neurologists call sound-induced fatigue. This isn't the normal tiredness you feel after a long day at work. This is a heavy, lead-like exhaustion that hits your forehead and eyes specifically when the ringing gets louder. It happens because your brain is no longer filtering the phantom noise. In a healthy brain, the thalamus acts like a professional gatekeeper, deciding which sounds are important and which are trash. But when your neural insulation begins to thin, the gatekeeper falls asleep at the post. Your brain then has to spend massive amounts of glucose, the fuel your neurons run on, just to process the fact that the ringing isn't a real threat. It's like running a high-end computer with 20 background programs open that you can't close. Your memory, your focus, and your mood are the programs that start to crash because the tinnitus program is hogging all the power. If you find yourself needing a nap after a particularly loud bout of ringing, your brain isn't tired. It's starving. Consider the mechanics of a lighthouse. The lamp rotates, casting a beam across the dark water to guide ships. In this analogy, your attention is that beam of light. Normally, you control where the beam points. You point it at your work, at your spouse's voice across the dinner table, or at the book you're reading. But chronic tinnitus acts like a second, unrequested light source that flickers and strobes from a different direction. Your brain's lighthouse keeper is exhausted because he is constantly trying to compensate for this interference. This exhaustion bleeds into your physical reality. You might notice that by 3 p.m., your eyes feel gritty, or your neck feels stiff, even if you haven't been doing heavy labor. This is the physical cost of neural overclamping. Your brain is literally squeezing its own circuits to try and dampen the noise. When you feel that leaden weight behind your eyes, you aren't just tired of the sound. You are witnessing the physical depletion of your brain's primary energy stores. If this fatigue is a constant shadow in your life, the gatekeeper isn't just tired. He's losing the battle to keep the noise out of your consciousness. This brings us to a chilling realization. If the brain is starving for energy just to manage the sound, what happens to the parts of the brain responsible for keeping your personality intact? This leads us directly into the second sign, which is far more subtle and significantly more dangerous. It's the spatial disconnection signal. Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you went there, only to have the ringing in your ears intensify the moment you realized you were lost? This isn't a coincidence. The auditory cortex is located inches away from the hippocampus, the library of your brain where memories are stored and spatial maps are drawn. When the electrical storm of tinnitus becomes chronic, it begins to leak into these neighboring sectors. It's called neural crosstalk. It's as if the wires in your house are so poorly insulated that turning on the kitchen light causes the television in the bedroom to flicker. When your brain is forced to listen to a sound that doesn't exist, it loses its ability to accurately map the world around you. You might find yourself bumping into the corners of tables more often, or feeling a strange sense of vertigo that your doctor can't explain with an inner ear test. This is your brain's way of telling you that the leak is spreading, and the structures that hold your sense of self and place are being compromised by the constant noise. Imagine your brain as a dense, thriving city. The neighborhoods are connected by highways of neurons. The auditory neighborhood and the memory neighborhood share a major border. When a riot, the tinnitus, breaks out in the auditory district, the police and emergency services are diverted from the memory district to handle the chaos. Soon, the memory district becomes neglected. Trash piles up, the lights go out, and the roads or synaptic pathways begin to crumble. This is why spatial disconnection is so terrifying. It's not just about forgetting where you put your car keys, it's about your brain losing its grip on the 3D map of your life. Have you noticed that driving at night has become more stressful? Or that you feel a strange, floaty sensation when walking through a crowded grocery store? That's not your eyes failing you. That is your brain struggling to process the visual horizon because it is too busy drowning in the internal noise. This crosstalk is a biological structural failure. If left unaddressed, the riots in the auditory district will eventually burn down the library of your memories. But there is a third sign, one that most people misinterpret as a sign of getting older, or just being stressed. This is the one that should make you sit up and pay attention immediately, because it concerns the very fabric of your neural network. It's the word retrieval delay. See, you know the feeling. The word is on the tip of your tongue. You can see the object in your mind. You can almost feel the syllables, but there is a wall between your thought and your speech. While you struggle to find that word, the ringing in your ears is likely at its most consistent. This happens because the constant phantom signal is creating synaptic interference. Think of it like trying to have a deep conversation while someone is standing next to you blowing a whistle. Eventually, your brain gives up on the complex task of word retrieval just to manage the stress of the whistle. This sign is a direct indicator that your brain's processing speed is dropping. It's not that you are losing your intelligence, it's that the hardware is being bogged down by a ghost signal that shouldn't be there. If this sounds familiar, you aren't just having a bad day. You are witnessing your brain prioritize a fake sound over your real life. To understand the severity of word retrieval delay, you have to understand how language is stored. It's not just a list of words, it's a web of connections. When you think of the word apple, your brain fires a specific sequence: red, round, fruit, crunch. Tinnitus acts like static on the line. As your brain tries to follow the thread from red to apple, the high-pitched hiss of the ringing creates electrical resistance. It takes longer for the signal to jump the gap. Eventually, the signal just dies before it reaches the destination. This is why you find yourself using generic words like the thing or that place more often. You are compensating for a broken network. You might feel embarrassed in social situations, wondering if others notice the 3-second delay before you answer a question. This isn't a social problem. It's a hardware problem. Your synapses are literally fighting through a storm of noise to deliver a simple sentence. This delay is the sound of your brain's processing engine grinding its gears because there is sand in the oil. The question then becomes, if the ears are fine and the brain is the one screaming, how do we turn down the volume? For years, the medical establishment has looked at the ear canal, but the answer lies in the insulation of your nerves. Imagine a copper wire. If the plastic coating around that wire is cracked or missing, the electricity jumps and sparks, creating noise. Your nerves are no different. They are coated in a fatty substance called myelin. When your myelin levels drop, due to stress, poor nutrition, or environmental toxins, the signals in your brain start to leak, creating the phantom sound of tinnitus and the subsequent brain fog. You don't need to mask the sound with more noise. You need to repair the insulation. You need to give your brain the specific biological building blocks it needs to seal those leaks and restore the silence. Silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's the presence of a healthy, well-insulated neural network. Think about the last time you saw a high-voltage power line. Those thick ceramic discs that hold the wires up? Those are insulators. They prevent the electricity from jumping into the metal tower and causing a disaster. Myelin is your body's version of those ceramic discs. When your myelin is strong, your thoughts move at 300 miles per hour. They are crisp, clear, and silent. But when that insulation wears thin, The electricity arcs. It jumps between neurons that aren't supposed to talk to each other. That arc is what you hear as ringing. It's the literal sound of your thoughts leaking out of their proper channels. This electrical leakage is why the three signs we discussed are so interconnected. The fatigue is the result of the wasted electricity. The spatial confusion is the result of the arcing signals hitting the wrong neighborhood. The word delay is the result of the signal being too weak to reach the end of the wire. Fixing this requires more than just silence. It requires a structural reconstruction of your neural highways. You might feel like you've tried everything. The drops, the earwax removals, the expensive white noise machines that only provide a temporary distraction. But those are band-aids on a broken engine. If your tinnitus is a brain warning, you need a brain solution. You need to stop the drain before the brownout becomes permanent. The three signs we discussed today, the exhaustion, the spatial confusion, and the word loss, are your body's final pleas for help. They are telling you that your cognitive battery is hitting the red zone. But here is the piece of the puzzle no one tells you. That drain is physically measurable, and if you can see it, you can stop it. Consider the cost of inaction. Every day you wake up with that ringing, your brain is working 20% harder than it should. Over a decade, that is the equivalent of aging your brain by an extra 2 years. This is why people with chronic tinnitus often report a sudden decline in their 60s. It wasn't sudden. It was a slow, steady erosion that began with a faint hiss in their 40s. Your brain is incredibly resilient. But even the strongest dam will eventually burst if the cracks are never filled. You are at a crossroads right now. You can continue to ignore the ringing, hoping it's just a fluke of biology. Or you can recognize it for what it is, a diagnostic signal. Your brain is telling you exactly where the weakness is. It's telling you that your synapses are losing their protective coating. It's telling you that the tinnitus tax is being collected from your future self. Most people wait for a catastrophic failure before they take action. They wait until the spatial disconnection causes a fall, or the word retrieval delay becomes so severe they stop going to social events. But you don't have to be most people. You have the ability to look at these signs through the lens of science. You can choose to see the ringing not as a life sentence, but as a call to action. You can provide your nervous system with the specific raw materials it needs to recoat those frayed wires. Imagine waking up and not having to check if the sound is there. Imagine the silence being so heavy and rich that you can hear your own heartbeat. That is the biological baseline you were meant to have. The static in your head is a distortion of your true potential. Understanding these warnings is the first step toward reclaiming your life, but it's only half the battle. To truly silence the noise, you have to understand exactly how this sound is physically hollowing out your memory centers as you sleep. The connection is deeper and more mechanical than you can imagine. It involves a specific biological leak that happens in the middle of the night when your brain should be cleaning itself, but is instead stuck in a loop of processing fake signals. This nighttime drain is where the most damage occurs. It's why you wake up feeling like you never slept at all. Even if you were out for 8 hours, your brain was running a marathon while you were in bed, trying to resolve the conflict between the silence of the room and the noise in your head. To see the full picture of how this tinnitus tax is being collected from your mind every single day, and more importantly, how to plug the leak for good, you need to see what happens next. There is a specific tipping point where the brain can no longer compensate for the noise, and the drain turns into a flood. If you've experienced even one of the three signs we've talked about, the leaden fatigue, the momentary confusion in familiar places, or the ghost of a word that won't come, your brain is already past that tipping point. You are in the compensation phase, but the compensation phase can't last forever. Eventually, the fuel runs out. You don't have to let the noise win. You don't have to accept a future where your world becomes smaller and quieter while the ringing becomes louder. There is a way to bridge the gap between your current frustration and the mental clarity you remember having. It starts with shifting your focus from the ears to the synapses. It starts with realizing that the warning light on your dashboard is your best friend, because it's giving you the chance to fix the engine before it stalls in the middle of the highway. The path to silence is a path of repair, not of masking. It is a journey back to the well-insulated, high-speed neural network you were born with. To truly understand how to stop this process and reclaim your mental energy, you need to see the mechanical reality of what this sound is doing to your synapses. The connection is deeper and more mechanical than you can imagine. To see the full picture of how this tinnitus tax is being collected from your mind every single day, And more importantly, how to plug the leak for good. You need to see what happens next. Click the video on your screen now to see the real reason your memory is fading and how to stop the brain drain before another day of silence is lost. The clock is ticking on your cognitive reserves. Don't let the noise exhaust the best years of your life.